Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we're live.
Okay, so welcome, guys.
Good. Yeah, this is what we've got this week is we were planning on doing an Inspire 2 today with the
That's
X7.
true. That's true. We did mention that, but we will. I think we're going to focus an entire episode on that.
Yeah, I think
right?
we need to, and we keep thinking about new things that we're going to bring up, but this week we kind of got a surprise in the mail.
That's true, and that's something that I wasn't anticipating.
I wasn't either.
Drew sent us a message on our group that he had just picked up this amazing lens that I've been wondering about for almost a year now.
It's so weird. So that's why. So we got this surprise, and so we're going to cover this, and I saved it. So what
is this?
This is the Laowa Optics. It was announced at CES, or was it?
It was either, I think it was CES.
CES like a year and a half ago.
Right.
And it's the weirdest lens you've ever seen, and for me that was enough motivation to say, I've always wanted to do macro photography, and this is just such a bizarre lens. As a matter of fact,
it's a crazy way to get into it. Yeah.
When you switch this over, this is the optical formula that they have right here, and each of these is a lens. So I mean, it looks so strange, but it actually has like a million different elements and groups, and you're going, oh my gosh, that's the strangest thing ever. So
yeah, seriously.
I think we should open it up and see what it looks like.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, you want to open it up?
Sure.
Okay, you open that thing up
without cutting myself.
Yeah,
it's like a sharp knife.
It is a sharp knife. Okay, that's cool. Well, that's weird. It has a bag here. It looks. Oh, that's cool. It straps it down. It has a place for strapping it down. But
is this just okay? All right, let's see.
Wow. Okay. So let's.
It has.
Okay, this kind of stuff. And,
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's this out of the way.
Yeah. I'll get too much
stuff completely out of the way so we can focus.
Okay.
Silica packet.
Standard in there.
Okay.
Cool. Well, that's it. That's very strange.
Wow.
It has. Okay, so it's F22 is wide open. I mean, F14 is wide open on this one, and all the way up to F40. So that's one of the things that's so different about this. I mean, obviously there's going to be a light issue because it doesn't gather a ton, but it gives you I've seen some videos that people have done with this, and the depth of field is crazy on it for a macro lens.
Yeah. Things get crazy with macro when you go into really close sector. F8 is like very shallow, actually. So F14, starting at F14 sounds crazy high, but it's actually very, very low.
Okay, let's see. Thank you. So the other thing that they said that this has, there's the lens cap.
Okay.
And it has these little LEDs around the end here.
Nice.
Isn't that interesting? And this little thing right here is where...
That's a USB port.
Okay. Right? Yeah, so this is a USB port. So I knew that this was going to have this. So I brought a power bank. And so what you do is you just plug this into the power bank, and you plug that into here.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. I think I'm plugged in. Oh, there we go.
Little tight fit. Oh, there you go.
Ta-da!
Whoa.
And so it looks like it actually has a dimmer and everything on it. Now, I didn't. The other thing that I did is in anticipation for this thing. Oh, that's interesting. In anticipation of this coming, okay, now we need the other camera.
Okay, you want the camera that's on this one?
Yes. Okay. So in anticipation of this coming, I bought a flash from Laowa as well that we'll have to use. I'll have to use this in real life and get some sample pictures of what it actually does, because the flash has two heads, and the heads are on these little things that extend them out literally to the end, so they're right next to whatever you're shooting. Okay, wait a second. Where's the mark on
I'm going to line that thing up.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's turn this on.
Okay, so the connector's on top. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. Look at that. That's out of focus right there. How about let's get your trackpad or something. Okay, here we go. We'll take a picture of that.
There you go. That's a good subject.
Yeah, it is an interesting subject. Try to see if we can get...
Okay, so what's our focus distance on that thing? Now it's all manual focus. Oh, you're getting really close to that.
Yeah, that's really close.
Oh, now we're seeing some good detail. Okay.
I forgot to tell Brendan to bring his hamster quick enough for this. But
I don't have a
isn't that
hamster.
interesting? You don't have a hamster?
No, I got a bearded dragon.
That would work. That would totally work.
Except he's fast. He runs really fast. Okay, so how about this? The texture on the mouse pad.
A little too much light there, you know?
Yeah, so can we dim it?
Let's try to dim it
click
down.
dimmable or hold down dimmable? Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Click dimmable, all right.
Okay. I wonder if auto white balance would do it. I mean, auto ISO is what you need. It is on auto ISO.
Okay.
That's interesting. Okay. Wow.
So look how close you're nearly touching. I mean, you're so close. You're like just a couple centimeters away.
Yeah, that's
or
cool.
Millimeters away, actually. I mean, it's just super, super close.
That's interesting too, because there's the focus right there, and
there you go. Okay, so you manually focus a little bit further away so you can get more detail on that part.
This is going to be cool. When we go to Oregon, we're gonna we'll come back because this is sealed up. The end of this thing is sealed to where you can dip this all the way into the water up to this deep.
Oh, that's awesome!
And so you can put it in a tide pool, and I think that's one of the things I'm kind of excited about doing with it. But I got this. I've had this little thing for years, which is a little some skateboard wheels actually, and it allows you to kind of move things back and forth. And I envision using it to go through a plant or with your bearded dragon. We'll have to try this with a bearded dragon, and you kind of just go right into his habitat and cruise right along the ground and right up to his face or something like that. I think that'll be fun, but I don't know. I mean, the build quality for this thing feels pretty substantial.
Right,
to me,
it's all aluminum, right? It feels it's all metal.
Like a real lens.
Yeah.
Really, only fully manual. So the only things that are on there are the focus ring, and the aperture. And the aperture is,
and they're really smooth.
Yeah, it's like a declicked aperture. So you could use. I know they make this thing in like L mount. They make it in mount for RED cameras. They make it in both the Canon Cine mount, and they make it in the Canon EF mount. They make it in the mount for the Sony EF mount, E mount, and Pentax and Nikon and everything. So
they made it for all the major
all
camera
the
bodies.
major
Okay,
cameras. That's one thing I like about Laowa, and I want to get their 15 millimeter wide angle one.
Right.
I've been looking for a really like a f2.4 or even a f1.8 wide angle, like a 14 millimeter lens, and I want one of those. But really want the Sigma, I think. But you were using that.
I've tested the Sigma before. It's a really great lens, but it's really so big and heavy, though.
Yeah, I know.
And if the Laowa has a smaller one, that might be a good option to look at.
Yeah, I would like to look at that. That's one thing I like about Laowa is that they make all the different mounts. There's the IRIX 15 millimeter. And I was really tempted by that. I got Royce Bear said that one was a fantastic, inexpensive astral lens, and so I've been intrigued by it.
Yeah.
But the problem is that they only make it in Nikon and Canon EF mount.
Right.
That doesn't.
Whereas these guys make like lots of options for this.
Yes.
I think because they really want to get their product out there, which is really smart.
Yeah,
they did that.
Smart. And you know, I jumped on it with the Kickstarter when they released that. I think it was back in end of July, and it came exactly when they said it would. So you know, I trust them, and I feel pretty good about Laowa and getting other Laowa lenses. But this is about the most unique looking lens I've ever.
It really is.
Seen.
It really is. When I saw Kai first get his hands on it in CES, over a year ago, it was really funny to watch that video and see. And I've been seriously intrigued by this as well since then. And the fact that it's got solid construction, aluminum body, even around the USB port, that's great. I mean, that's really good, solid construction.
Well, and I wanted to get into macro. I've never done a lot of macro photography, but one of the reasons that I have not really looked forward to it is the focus stacking end of it, where you literally are doing slivers of what's in and what's out of focus with most lenses, and that's one of the things that was so intriguing about this specific lens. And so I think this will be fun to play with. I mean, the packaging that it comes with is amazing.
It's really cool, yeah.
This is cool. I mean, it's, you know, you can see how it's shaped specifically for the lens.
Right.
It has a spot for the little USB thing. You can take this and stuff that in the little slot there. I think this is pretty impressive. But for our trip, that bag that's over here is. I think
the optional bag that came with
it's
as
a little
well.
lighter weight. You just throw this over your shoulder instead of carrying this like trombone case or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice that it's that sturdy, but I didn't know that they were going to send. Actually, I didn't know they were going to send either one of these cases. I remember the Kickstarter was talking about the fact that, you know, they sold enough of them that I think this is the bonus, or that was the bonus.
Oh, okay.
It was like they reached the end of the, you know, I mean, the number of sales that they can
throw in some extra stuff,
something else in, and so they did this.
So this is a hard.
What is this price? What does it go for?
They're about $1,300.
So really
$1,300. Yeah.
So they're definitely really on the pricey side there.
But
well, think about it though. If you're going to buy a macro lens from Canon, so you've got a Canon camera, you want to buy a macro lens, 100 millimeter, that's like $700 for the 100 millimeter L glass. So
why would you choose this one over something like that?
I think the fact that it's the probe lens, so you can stick it in stuff. I can't wait to go ahead.
My 100 millimeter is not waterproof at all.
And I think that's part of it, and the other part is just I mean, it's so weird to have that kind of depth of
field. It's really specialty item. I think that's why the price is higher, because of the research and development that went into it, and it's a very specific use for this thing. It's great for hobbyists, but most hobbyists aren't going to spend $1,300 unless they got money to burn. You know, that's fine. But for a very specific group of photography, this is going to appeal really a lot. And if money's not an issue, then I wouldn't see lots of people being excited about this.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, you go by, like, you know, this dumb lens which is a fantastic lens. It's an amazing lens. This is the 16 to 35 from Sony.
Okay.
But that's like $2,400.
Right.
So, you know, I guess if you're used to buying Sony lenses,
then it's just like $1,300.
It's that expensive.
Right.
Relatively speaking, but. Yeah, sometime we'll have to kind of mention and cover I use lens coat covers on everything because they're so dang expensive with things, and my wife likes to shove her camera, which is the A7 III, into her purse. Okay. And so I feel like I have to. Sorry about that. Yeah, you can hear me, everybody. I feel like
a little lower.
Yeah, I feel like you gotta protect it a little bit. So.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
This is going to be fun. I think we're going to take too much stuff, especially next week. We're going to cover lens clean or sensor cleaning, and we'll really cover it. We've got something to there we go. We've got something something else that we're going to cover this week right here,
which is this visible dust Arctic butterfly, right?
Yes, and this is. I mean, I looked at the price on this and I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way. This is stupid. Does it really work? And so, you know, I mean, this Arctic butterfly visible dust has 3 or 4 different versions of this. This is the fancy one. This is the one with the LEDs on it. And I was like, I don't know if I believe that this thing's going to work. But I moved from Canon to Sony.
Mirrorless, right?
Yeah, to mirrorless. I bought the A7R II because I was thinking about getting the Canon 1DX Mark II.
Okay.
And I was looking at that, and for one, the price is astronomical.
Yes,
but
it's a high price body.
Yeah, but I was looking at it because I wanted. The reason I was really interested is because I had sold a commercial, nice Panasonic 4K video camera.
Oh, okay.
And I was doing enough video for my business at the time that I wanted 4K, but I was like, I only ever use this dumb video camera for this one thing, and I can do everything with like a regular DSLR kind of camera.
Yeah.
And I found out a couple of things, and one thing has gone away. Is you used to be able to hack, like the A7R II, you can hack to remove the 30-minute recording limit.
Oh, right.
That these type of bodies have,
Yeah.
and that's artificial. It's a deal that they basically have put in to get around a tariff situation. That 30-minute recording limit is totally artificial. With the elimination of the App Store that you could use basically for Sony, they got rid of the ability to hack that 30-minute limit off. So that went away, but there were a lot of other reasons to go with it. It was a hard decision at that point, but I used the A7R II with adapted glass for about a year before I sold it. I sold my A7R II last August. And when we went to Oregon last year, remember I was just using my 7D Mark II?
Yeah.
And I used that, and I was waiting for the A7R III to come out.
Right, I remember that.
And it came out right after a trip.
Of course.
Amazing camera. I love it. But one of the shortcomings with all of these mirrorless cameras is when you don't have the mirror to cover up your sensor
when changing lenses.
You're changing lenses, man, that it's like the sensors just attract dirt. I mean, they really. I mean, I'm super careful. I know people like I know guys that take both the lens caps off, the front and the back lens cap off, before they go out shooting, and they're sitting in their bag with no lens caps, and I get that, but with the mirrorless cameras, I never let dirt get into the back of the lens because that's going to end up transferring
to the sensor.
To the sensor. Now this is my and we should cover this too at some point. This is the Canon glass that I still have are my tilt shift lenses because those are the ones. So tilt shift lenses, and then I've got. I think I've got one old Rokinon 85 millimeter 1.8 or something like that I've kept. But I use the Metabones adapter on this, and I need to talk to you about that too. Because if you ever do this, don't use the Sigma adapter; it doesn't work. Okay,
so we'll cover that one in another episode.
Yeah, when we should cover tilt shift lenses soon.
Yeah.
So the problem with one of these is that what you've got is when you're looking at your opening here with a Sony. Can we grab your camera and we'll open it up and show people what the difference is on that one too? With the Sony, with any mirrorless, let's pull your Canon up. With any mirrorless camera that you've got, what you've got here is the sensor right there. It's just totally visible. And if you look at a Canon, this is not the sensor. This is the mirror. Right. And the mirror flips up when you hit the shutter button and exposes the sensor. And so this kind of covers any just floating around dust. And it adds some additional protection that you don't get when you're looking at a mirrorless camera.
Right.
And so I was like, geez, I with my A7R II, I was wet cleaning it all the time because that's all I knew how to do. Right? And so it just driving me crazy because I hate little goobers and dust spots on there.
Especially when you're doing landscape photography.
Yeah, it just kills you because you're using, with landscape photography, obviously we all know we're using these higher aperture numbers where it makes it so that the dust is actually visible if it's on your sensor.
And once you do any kind of clarity or dehaze slider, wow, they just pop
boom,
right
there it
on.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It got to the point where I was the very first thing that I would do is I'd pull everything into Lightroom, I'd fix the dust spots, and then I'd copy it through my entire. By the way, that's a good trick. You copy it through your entire thing, but the problem is sometimes it's sampling from a weird spot.
Yep, and then you got to go back
then
and
you're screwed.
Right.
So I was just like, okay, I got to figure out a way to keep my sensor clean.
Right. So herein lies the fix.
Yep. So Visible Dust has 3 different Arctic Butterfly brushes. They've got one, the expensive one, has a couple of little batteries in here that power the motor and the LEDs.
Okay.
Okay. And they have one that is completely manual that uses the same fibers, and these fibers are this is really the trick. The fibers, this company is really good at these nano coatings and stuff like that.
Okay.
And these fibers, you can see, I just spun it just for a second, and you can see how the fibers are starting to move apart like that.
Yeah.
And so what that is they're designed specifically to build up a static electricity charge.
Ah, okay.
So you can buy the totally manual one. There's no glue that's used in here because they don't want that glue to come out and get on the fibers or anything, because you're going to transfer that to your sensor.
Okay.
Right?
So it's just pinched in there.
So it's just pinched in there.
Okay.
And they have one that has no motor, and you just shake it, and it builds up the static charge.
Okay.
And then they've got one without the LEDs. And the LEDs are kind of cool, but my gosh, we all carry around an LED flashlight on our phone. So I think that'd work just fine in retrospect. But what you do is you take this thing, and I'm going to turn this way when I run this, because if there's any dust on it, the idea is you run this for about 10 seconds, and it flicks off any dust.
Okay.
And then you see how those bristles are spread apart?
Yeah.
Now, then what you do is you take this with your sensor and you just run it the one way like this. And then I'll just run it and maybe another way this way, and you just kind of, and what that does is those are static charge bristles. And so then you turn it back on again, flick them off, reset it, make sure that you don't, if you ever get any grease or anything on there, that you have to clean those bristles. Mm-hmm. But if it's just dry dust, as long as I don't spit on it or something like that, then that does a pretty dang good job of cleaning it. Now, we're going to do a separate gear time where we cover wet cleaning, because I've done a lot of wet cleaning at this point.
I've done it just once, and I've had a great experience. I had to do it many times, though, because it was being my first time. It seemed like I was just smearing the dust from one side to the other, or there's still too much liquid on there.
That's the thing, and we'll cover this, but you have to be so careful that you use good cleaning fluid, and B, you don't use too much of it, because I
swear I used just a drop and it was still too much.
It just made me so mad. And we're not going to do the show here, but if you use too much cleaning fluid, what it ends up doing is you end up, as soon as you pull that swab off, it leaves almost like these little puddles of the fluid on the edge of the sensor. Then those evaporate, and you can see the shadow down the edge of the sensor, which will drive you crazy, because there's really no good way to get rid of that. Those are not spots; they don't come off. So they're hard to deal with. So this is kind of a godsend that way, because it's so simple. I keep it with me all the time. Brendan and I went down to Escalante, and he was like, I've got all this crap on my sensor. And I'm like, I got this, and we cleaned it that time. I think that really took care of it, right?
It did for that weekend. It was great. I got more dust on it later that I ended up having to do a wet clean. Because my camera was used. It came from Hawaii. I think there was actual salt deposits and stuff on it. So.
Salt deposit, volcanic ash.
That kind of stuff was really hard. So I went through and spent a couple of hours wet cleaning it, and it was quite a process. So
here's the other thing that's really nice about the Visible Dust brush. this Arctic butterfly brush that you don't get the same way with wet cleaning. Is obviously we all know how to take these and clean these out with you get your blower, rocket blower, or this isn't a rocket blower, but it's a good one. So you blow that out, and the problem is that you can also get some stuck in duck inside here.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and on the felt lining, sure.
And what are you going to do? Take your little, swab and try to wipe it down the backside. I mean, this is teeny on the backside.
Right.
With those swabs, you get a swab that is specifically the size of your sensor. So they have different swabs for micro four thirds, for crop sensor, and for full frame.
Right.
And I'm not going to be doing that, but this works great.
To get the stubborn dust off.
Yes, for these too. You just do the same thing and brush the inside of here and pull out any dust off of the glass that's on the back of that.
That's awesome.
So it's that's one of those areas where a wet clean is not going to do the same job, because it just doesn't work the same way.
Yeah.
So visible dust has like I said, there's a manual one. How much is the manual one? Do you remember? Aaron?
The manual one, I just see this one, the 724S is it shows different sellers, $158 for this one.
But that's this one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like $150. And then they have another one that's like the one without the LEDs, and I think it's about $100, about 90 or $100. And then the manual one, I think it's like less than $50.
Okay.
So it's the same fibers. You actually have to shake it yourself, so it's really hard. So, you want to buy a motor.
Yeah.
I'm sure it works just fine. But
we got a couple questions.
Okay, what are the questions?
Real first, for Drew, have you used the Sony 16 to 35 2.8 for Astro yet?
Yes, I have. And
Gordon wants to know what your thoughts are on it.
It's fantastic. You know what?
I've seen some of the results of that. Yeah.
We'll put some of the pictures in the notes. My personal website, it's right at the very top of that, is drewarmstrong.com. And you can see there's a picture that Brendan and I took of the hoodoos down at Devil's Garden in Escalante, and I used this 16, the f2.8 16 to 35 to do that on the A7R3. And I think you'll be impressed if you take a look at those.
Even the live view was amazing. It was just like, what? You can see all that on live view? Like, I was jealous.
I had the 16 to 35 Mark II, and the Mark III came out in Canon right when I was doing the transition. And that's an amazing lens too. But man, this is I think this is the lens of the year last year.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that's an amazing piece of glass.
They might not have heard me very well. Say the lens again on.
This is the L series version. It's the G Master 16 to 35 f2.8, and this is the I'll pull these off. This isn't fair.
Yeah, you can't really see when it's all bandaged up like that.
It is all bandaged up, but
ready for action.
I like it all bandaged up because then when my wife puts it in her purse, then it doesn't. She doesn't really put it in her purse, but she has the Peak Design sling bag.
Okay.
And so she kind of just tosses it in there, and inevitably what she's putting in her sling bag is other camera gear and her phone and her hairbrush.
And so things stack up and start scratching. Yeah.
So this is. Do we want to flip over to that?
Let's get a close up of that.
So this is the FE 2.8 16 to 35 G Master, and it is a pretty impressive lens. I love this lens. There's my telephone number.
So in case you find the lens, you can call them.
Find it. I mean, that's a great idea. People are honest more often than they aren't, and
they really are. Yeah.
I try to put my name on all kinds of stuff. It didn't help me with my Really Right Stuff tripod yet, so nobody called me with that. So if you find what is it, the TSC 14 somewhere, in Utah. I don't know where I left it, but
it's either somewhere in the wild or somewhere in his basement, and he just can't find it.
Gordon says that's his next lens to get. Awesome.
Oh, nice.
This is my favorite Sony lens that I've got.
Okay, we can put another link later in the show notes for that too. Yeah. Okay.
So I've got the 70 to 200, and I've got the 1 to 400, which is amazing, and I've got the 24 to 70. and then I've got a 85 millimeter prime as well. But,
Okay.
Then I keep my the tilt shift lenses. I do a lot of architectural work. And,
Right.
And I love shooting inside of cathedrals when I'm on vacation and stuff like that, religious buildings. So the tilt shift lenses are a must for me. They're really important.
And Sony doesn't make any tilt shift lenses, do they?
They don't.
Okay.
Sony just released their 30th E-mount lens this past about 2 weeks ago. So they announced their 30th, which is impressive. But
Yeah.
no tilt shift glass yet. So
There probably just isn't much of a market for it. I mean, but Canon's been doing it, so.
no, Laowa has a tilt shift basically adapter that you can buy and you can adapt their other lenses with. I've never tried it. So,
Okay.
Anyhow, well, hey, it was great to
Yeah.
talk at you. I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Thanks for the comments, guys. Thanks for joining us for this live feed. We're going to be coming back again, same bat channel, same bat time, at Thursday at 1 p.m.
Next week, will you clean a whole lens?
Yeah, next week,
Next
I
week we'll
think
clean a sensor.
Clean a sensor and maybe a lens next week.
Yeah.
The other one that we're going to do that we still have on the table to do is I've got the Inspire 2 drone from DJI with the X7 and would love to show that to you. I've got the...
I think we can do probably a whole episode on that.
Yeah,
so.
well, because I've got the remote for it. That's the Ascendance remote, and I've got the Crystal Sky monitor. And
Yeah, you got all the good stuff
everything.
for that.
So
It's really nice.
that is going to take a whole show to
Yeah.
do that one.
Okay.
So,
Thanks for commenting, guys, and we'll see you next week.
2 in the pack.